TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Yeah, so part of the whole coming full circle, I knew Bobby Heenan was going to be there, so I wanted to clear that thing up with him. When I did the Jesse Ventura story, I was told by the producers and stuff to be controversial, to call Jesse out, because they wanted Jesse to acknowledge the movie. Because they figured once he acknowledged it, it would do a ratings thing. So I had to be a prick, man. I don't know. I figured Jesse would know I'm playing a character, or at least playing the role of a dick who's bitter against Jesse. I remember I was calling Jesse the hypocrite Ventura during the press stuff. We did a lot of press for that movie. I told those stupid motherfuckers though. I said, "You're putting this. First of all, we're going head to head with the biggest miniseries ever made, Cleopatra, which fucking destroyed us in the ratings. And it aired on a Sunday, but it also aired against the WWE pay-per-view. I said, why the fuck are you going to air a wrestling movie against the WWE pay-per-view? That whole audience that watches that pay-per-view would be watching you guys, but they're not. And it's the night Owen died. It's the night Jesse Ventura aired. It was one of the few WWE pay-per-views I actually didn't watch because I was watching the movie. So, I felt bad afterwards that I had to be so brutal on Jesse, but I figured he, either didn't hear it, didn't care, or would understand why I was doing it. He's from Hollywood. You would think he'd know that. But he was at WrestleMania 20, so I'm like, well, I might as well try to clear that one up too. That was a mistake. So I introduced myself. I told them who I was, and I said, I'm sorry about the press I did. I was like, they asked me to be brutal on you just to try to get you to talk about it. And boy, he shot, man. Not so much on me because I don't think he heard or knew who I was.
Right.
But man, he was pissed about that movie because Jesse's a businessman first and foremost, and he wanted money for that movie, and they weren't going to pay him. So he was against that movie from the get-go because they wouldn't pay him. And there's one of the producers or executive producers knew him or something, and he thought it was a stab in the back that they did it and they didn't pay him or they didn't offer him money. But at least what, that apology wasn't for him, and even the Bobby Heenan apology wasn't for him. Those apologies, or at least explanations of what I did, was for me.
Right.
I felt bad about what I did, and I wanted to clear it up.
How you got started in the wrestling business?
Excuse me. When I was really young, my dad watched horse racing. And I grew up in New York City, in Sunnyside. I was 4 blocks from Sunnyside Gardens. And when I was about 6 years old, my dad watched horse racing on Channel 9, which is WR, in New York City. And that was 11:30 to 12. And then at 12, WWF came on. So I used to stay up to watch wrestling with him just to kind of bond with my dad at the age of 6. I think I was either 8 or 10. And he actually took me to Sunnyside Gardens. Had to sneak me in because they were pretty strict back then. And I just fell in love with it from a very early age. So around 10 or 12 is when I said I wanted to do this. I mean, at that age, I said I'm gonna do this. And then when I went to see Hogan win the belt,
right,
January 23rd of '84,
right.
And then a few months later, May 29th, I believe, in the Meadowlands, Flair came and wrestled Steamboat. So that was all back to back. So I used to say this, and then after I said it for a few times on interviews, I realized it's kind of taking a shot at Hulk, and I definitely didn't mean that. I have a lot of respect for Hulk. But I used to say in January is when I fully decided I'm going to do this. In May, when I saw Flair, I decided I want to be good at this. And that's not a shot at Flair. I mean, not a shot at Hulk. It just means as much as Hulk connected with that crowd, and obviously he tore up that fucking crowd, 20,000 strong in the garden, a lot more than Flair and Steamboat did. There was a big storm that night. I think Flair and Steamboat in the Meadowlands only drew, I think, $6,000, maybe 9,000, but it wasn't a full house. But there was a big difference. Hulk came out in 6 minutes, beat the Sheik. It was all fucking energy, electricity. It was exciting. I literally ripped my shirt off. I had a sweatshirt. I would have been 14 at the time. So I ripped off my shirt, I had a sweatshirt, so I wore it at home. But I mean, I really got caught up in it. And when I went to see the Night of Champions with Flair and Steamboat in the Meadowlands, it was called the Night of Champions, and I think there were 7 title matches. Tully Blanchard was on it, the Road Warriors, Jimmy Valiant. Carlos Colon was supposed to be on it, but I think he no-showed. Jake the Snake was on it. I mean, it's an incredible card.
I have it on video, handheld or something like that. I have it somewhere. It's boxed away because I can't sell it anymore because of legal reasons. But yeah, I've
been looking for that forever, dude. I think Craig Patrick, I think that was the guy's name. One of the guys who used to write for Apter,
right,
was at ringside. I remember taping it onto like a video disc.
Huh.
He had like a suitcase, and you could see the video disc moving, and he was filming it. I thought directly onto that.
Yeah.
So I remember just thinking, well, this will come out on video, no big deal.
Right.
And then for years I've been looking for it. But I went with my uncle, my dad, my cousin John, and my best friend Tom Clark. And we were 4th row ringside for Flash Steamboat, dude. And my uncle was shitting on wrestling the whole fucking night. How could you watch this? This is so phony. Man, dude, I saw fucking Jake Blade. I saw the fucking Blade. You know, I mean, it was kind of overwhelming to be that close. First time I sat that close. And it was, you know, when you were that close, some of it was exposed, obviously. And but I'll tell you what, man, when my uncle sat there and watched Flash Steamboat, I think they did 29 minutes. And at the end, he looked at me and goes, now I understand why you like this.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, I understand. Just because of what Flash... And that's when that was the whole... I tried to shorten the story when I said that's when I decided I want to be good. It wasn't so much I decided I want to be better athletically than Hulk, but I wanted to be able to do that. What Flair and Steamboat did to my uncle, I want to be able to do that for people.
Right.
Never got to do it, but... but, you know, that's... You know, from that point on, and I'll tell you, at the age of 14, you know, that was really when I decided. At 10 or 12, I said I wanted to do it. At 14, I started saying, I'm going to do this. And I did remember that. When I was 14, you know, people would always ask us about that age. I mean, going into high school, what do you want to do for a living? And I always remember my friends saying, I want to be a hockey player, I want to be a football player, I want to be a cop or whatever. And I never said I want to be. I always said, I'm going to be a wrestler. And it was just a mindset. It was like, I would not accept anything else, period. I mean, one way or the other, I was going to do this. Whether for a living or I was going to, you know, spend 40 years on fucking indies. One way or the other, I was going to do this. You know, it was a different mindset, and I think that's why I made it.
As far as the training goes, were you ever discouraged at all, or did you pretty much said you took to it right away, so...
Yeah, but the power twins were one... I used to go every day.
Right.
I used to do my... I kind of hid this from my parents, because, you know, after they paid all that money for college, I don't think they wanted me to wrestle.
Yeah, did they ever pressure you as far as... you know?
I never told them I was doing this.
Okay.
And I never told them I was definitely going to wrestle. After that 18-year-old thing, I could tell they weren't into it.
Right.
When I said I wanted to do it when I was 18. So when I found a school, I hid it from them. And I told them I was going to the library after my internship every day. So I did the internship from 9 to 5. And I told them I was at the library all night, studying for my final thing, whatever the hell it was. Because you have to give a speech at the end.
Right.
Kind of in front of all the friggin' NYU friggin' teachers and shit. It was horrifying. So I hid it from my mom and dad, and like I said, I was going there. You asked me about anything dissuading me. Pete was great. Pete passed away a while ago. When I was in OVW after my knee injury, Pete passed away. But Pete was great. Bobby Bald Eagle, who's still, he just recontacted me on Facebook, actually. He's still around. I think he's in a band now, but he was phenomenal. He actually wrestled a few matches as Black Tiger.
Right.
Especially locally. I don't think he ever did it, but he used to fight Mark Rocco a lot. He wrestled Mark Rocco over in England. I think Rocco was the original Black Tiger. So, you know, I think Bobby claims, and I believe him, that when Black Tiger came over here and wrestled in 83 or 84, that it wasn't really Mark Rocco. It was Bobby under the mask. And he had one match in the Garden. I was there for it. I remember seeing it. And it was phenomenal. And, you know, I go back and look at the tape. It looked a lot like Bobby. So I kind of believe it. Who the hell knows?
You watched a lot of tapes from Japan, too, when you're... Yeah, I forget when I started getting them. I started getting them. I got some, you know, like I knew about AAA before they did their pay-per-view. So I got all my friends to watch that because I knew it was going to be pretty good. Yeah, I had one of the biggest tapes. I had over 1,000 tapes at one point. And I had a landlord in Atlanta, threw them all out. What are you going to do? Right.
But you asked if I got dissuaded. When I kept going to the training on the Lower East Side Gym, the Power Twins were there. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s. And one of them beat the fuck out of me. You know, and I knew what he was doing.
Right.
Paying your dues, whatever the hell you want to call it. But, you know, I really don't mind. I grew up with an older brother who pretty much beat my ass literally every day of my life from like 4 years old until I was like 16. So taking a beating, never, you know, I don't like fighting. I hate fighting. I hate real fighting. I like it. I wouldn't mind doing some MMA. I've done some jiu-jitsu, but without striking. I'm not a big fan of getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also don't shy away from fights too often. I mean, I avoid the confrontation. I don't like the energy that's created when you have a confrontation like that. But, you know, I'm not, you know, them beating me up didn't really bother me. And the same thing in wrestling.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.